And I left, and he says, "I'll tell you what, I wouldn't do that on my own."
Right.
And I said, "Well, why?" He says, "Well," he started telling us the story. He says, "I was standing next to the bar." He says, "And I was looking," he says, "and my brother's talking to us."
Yeah.
And he kind of like looked and like glanced over my shoulder, and he said, "I knew that, you know, there was something there."
Right.
So as I turned round, there was a woman at the end of the bar.
Right.
And I went, "Right, okay." I says, "What did she look like?" He says, "Well, I can't really describe what she looked like." But I know it was a woman.
Yeah.
It's like when you know, from a distance, you can see a man and you can see a woman, and you can tell, kind of tell the difference.
Yeah.
And I says, "All right." I says, "Now," he says, "Well, she had a white coat on," and I was quite flippant with him. I says, "Well, you'll end up with a white coat, bloody straight jacket." He says, "I mean, you know, this lad, he's a nice kid." And he says, "No," he says, "I'm being absolutely serious." He says, "She was standing there at the end of the bar, and it just went."
Right.
And I went, "All right, okay, no bother."
So she just disappeared in front of his eyes?
Gone, just faded. I went, "Aye, all right." Like I say, I'm very, very sceptical myself, you know. Even though I've seen a lot and heard a lot, still have this, you know, unless it's written down and stuff like that.
No, I mean, I'm exactly the same. You know, I mean, I'm a firm believer that if there's an explanation for it, then I'll always go with the explanation for it, rather than instantly something on the paranormal.
So I was thinking, well, you know, fair enough. And yeah, there's a couple gets in here as well, only live across the road. And I said, it's a tight-knit community, we've all grew up together. And he comes and he says, "Oh, I've got some photos here, we've been sorting out the loft." And
this is the couple from across the road?
Yeah. He says, yeah. And you know, an envelope, and I opens it up, and there's a picture of his sister and my mum. We all grew up together. And I look now, and well, my mum died when she was 46. Right. Which is fairly young.
Is that quite a while ago?
Oh yeah. Right. And I just thought, you know.
Was that whilst you had the pub?
No. My mum, never seen us have the pub.
Right.
My mum died in 1990, and I took this on 91.
Right.
And I looked at it and I thought, oh, you know, I remember my mum. And and then I thought, white coat. And I remember my mum having this white blazer. Right. And it was pretty much just before she died. She was to wear it. Thought she looked really nice. And yeah, I went to the cash and carry, and I took this photo over. And I says to Michael, I says, "Michael," I says, "I've just found this. Is this anybody that comes in here?" And it stopped him in his tracks, and he went, that's what I seen in the bar. Yeah. Went then? He went.
And this Michael didn't know.
Michael's only a young lad. Michael will be, God, he wouldn't have been alive when my mum died.
Right. So you wouldn't have saw a picture of her or anything like that. So you wouldn't have known who it was.
No, not in a million years. Right. He's not even from our area. You know, he lives on the estates. Yeah. So for him to say that, and I says, well, actually, I says, that's my mum. Yeah. And he says that the next time we had another paranormal group in, and I was explaining to them, and they said their explanation was, people attach themselves to you. They're looking out for you. They're there.
So she never saw you in the pub, but she's attached to you because she's your mother. Yeah. And so when you've moved into the pub, she's moved in with you. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of like, you know, being that you
she's looking over
guardian angel type.
I was going to say she's your mother, so obviously she's there to protect her, isn't she?
And that was probably the most unnerving thing that I've come across.
To be told that your mother is here.
And the fact that he would never ever have known in a million years. Yeah. You know, it was impossible. Yeah.
Because I mean, one of the conversations that me and Dave have had is that he said to me that he would like either my mother or my father, because both my parents are gone, and they both said that if they could come back, they would come back. And both non-believers, exactly the same as me, but they said if they could, they would come back. Now Dave said to me that he hopes that one of them comes back, and I said, well no, that's the opposite of what I want. The last people I want to come and tell me is my mother and father, because then I would feel that when they went, I would be losing them like, all over again, and I didn't want that. So I'd rather have somebody else, if it was possible, I'd rather have somebody else come and tell me you know, like an uncle or something, you know, rather than it being them two, because as I say, if that was to happen, then I would feel that I was losing them twice, and therefore, you know, go through the heartache again. So it must be difficult for you to have somebody who sees that they've seen your mother in here. And is that the only occasion that somebody saw your mother, or?
That's the only occasion that we had that, and then, as I say, we had the other paranormal group that came in, and I was explaining where the apparition was seen, etc. And had these boxes, and she was go where. And I had it in my hand, and I was standing just at the side here, nothing. And as I went to the spot, it was just.
Christian, you'll be able to tell us what one of them boxes are, because I haven't got a clue. A box with a needle on that goes crazy when there's activity around.
EMF.
Right. EMF. Weren't there a band that sang "You're Unbelievable"?
We're unbelievable.
Yeah, exactly. So what's an EMF?
Electrical magnetic field.
Frequency, field, field. We've got one here.
Right. So what does that do?
This would detect to see if there was actually any sort of electrical stream or anything like that. It's also, I mean, I'm sitting around all the electrics here at the moment. If I activate it now,
it's going to go crazy because
it's actually going off the chart there in front of the laptop.
It's saying that there's electric. So is that the sort of forces that spirits give off? Is it like an electrical force?
Yeah, it's supposed to be electrical energy.
So
if you were
if you hold that button on the side.
Aaron, the cameraman, can
see there's not a lot there at the moment. In fact, there's 0 there at the moment. So as that moves towards something electrical, that should actually make a noise, but I don't think it's feeling very well.
The problem with that is, would it not? I mean, you're saying it's off the charts when it's text that, isn't it? Would that not be affected by electricity?
Well, what you'd actually normally do is you'd actually come in and you'd do like a baseline reading.
Right. So you come in and you say, right, this is showing up as 3 for
Christine's kind of had a little bit of a walk around with us already just to see what the baseline's reading. So then, if we actually experienced anything later on, this would then.
So if like sort of across down the bottom of the bar there, if it was a reading of 3, but then you went down later on and it was a reading of 7. Then,
it would actually register that.
So because as you can probably tell, I haven't got a clue what all this equipment is. You know, I'm the voice of the show, but obviously these guys are the experts. You know, these guys knows what goes on behind the scenes. So you were saying, sorry, these guys were saying that this EMF was off the chart.
Yeah, it says where you are, as soon as it got to the side, it started like really go. And I was looking, I said, well, is it right? And they went, yeah, it's right, move. And I moved, and it went.
Yeah.
So it wasn't the start, and they had a couple of these devices, and they moved over there with theirs, and it wasn't half as strong.
Right.
I said, well, that's because the presence with you.
Oh, so going back to what this Michael was saying about your mother, the spirit's attached to you, so the EMF was going crazy around you rather than the actual spot.
And one of the girls, this is what I found dead interesting. She was one of the workers from Gen 2, a girl called Gemma Carrick. She did one of the first ones with this paranormal group, and they went somewhere, and there was a young girl, spirit had attached to her, and she took her home. Yeah, I mean, Gemma's quite a level-headed girl. And she said, for weeks, this presence was in her house. I mean, obviously, when you live in a house and then things change, you know there's something there. She says this girl was there. There was things happening.
Was that like a negative, or was it? How did it?
It was. She says it was quite positive. It was disturbing, the fact that things were happening and she couldn't understand what was happening and why it was happening. But she'd got back in touch with Fiona, who runs this other paranormal group, and actually said to us, she says, I'm not being funny, but there's things happening in my house that are not right. And she said, well, what do you mean? She says, there's things happening. Things moving, things getting displaced, things are disappearing, and so they went back and actually had a sort of exercise the house.
Right.
So
Also, you actually got somebody in. You actually got somebody in to exercise.
Yeah.
Right. And was it this paranormal group that did it?
Yeah, they went in and she says sometimes, like, their explanation is that these souls, these entities, attach themselves to good. Because Gemma's very light-hearted, very
she's a good egg.
Yeah.
Good egg. Yeah.
So she says they've kind of attached themselves to her. So when she's left this place where this girl was from, she's gone. The spirit's gone. Well, it's a better place.
Yeah.
So she's attached herself to her being. And
did this exorcism work?
Yeah. Gemma says once they got it done, it cleared.
So what were these paranormal? Because we discussed exorcism a couple of shows ago.
When we discussed the exorcism, was a couple of weeks ago when we were actually discussing it, we said that you have obviously the church, the Catholic Church do an exorcism, and then the spiritualists would do a clearance or a spirit clearance.
Right, and is that what these people were, the spiritualists?
Yeah, it was.
So again, what they would have done is they would have gone in, they would have said a prayer, they would have asked the spirit to go towards the light, etc.
Well, if it was, as Jeff said, it's obviously been a nice spirit, hasn't it?
Yes.
So if they have said, you know, you're bothering this young lady, do you mind leaving?
Oh yeah, I mean,
you know, if it's such a nice spirit, it is going to go.
You see
it's not
that?
going to be like, no, I'm stopping here.
We see
I'm going to smash a few plates.
Well, that's obviously when we were having a discussion about sort of the negative side, the Hollywood side of things and stuff like that. When you're actually saying to for a spirit to move on, no, the spirit's gone on. This is a lovely person, nice soul. Like souls attached to each other, etc. And then what they'll do is they'll actually be with, you know, they'll follow them along, and you've sort of, you know, things start happening, and as you rightly say, you start feeling as if there's a change, there's like a shift of balance in the house, and there's things moving that shouldn't be moving, things going missing. I mean,
that's just when Aaron comes with it. Not in your wallet.
Yeah, but you know, there's that sort of attitude where there is a definite shift in in the balance of the home. It's not as sort of feels as nice as normal. I think is probably the very loose way of describing it. Yeah. But then what would happen is this, like, a spiritualist would come in and they would basically ask the spirit, they would thank the spirit for being there. You know, ask the spirit to move on, ask the spirit to go to, you know. If the SNU spiritualist, it would be the last one to move forward to the Summerland.
The what spiritualist?
Spiritualist National Union, SNU, which is the most...
Will you stop using acronyms and actually tell me what the words are?
Sorry, but no, they would actually, you know,
I thought that was some sort of coal union you were talking about.
No. But no, that's how it works. So they would actually ask the spirit to move forward, and it you know, like I say, there's, when you see films like The Exorcist, like the films that we were talking about in the previous show, we were talking about the, you know, the sort of you know, the priest coming round and you know, it's nothing like that.
Say my favourite line.
Yeah.
The power of Christ compels you.
Yeah. It's not. Yeah, it's not really like that. It's sort of, there's a blessing done, and then what they actually would do is they would use the colour blue. So like a really sort of like, if you imagine like a flashing blue off a police car, that type of blue colour.
Is there a reason why it's blue?
It's like a divine light.
Right.
And then light of protection, blue for protection. Divine light is a pure white light, but if you're going for the blue, that's the protection. And what they would actually do is that they would actually.
So is that why the police have blue lights?
No, I think that's more the case of them just. I think that's the one.
I was going to say I've heard it's because it can be seen through fog.
Yeah,
it's the only coloured light that can be seen through fog.
Yeah, but what they would do is they would actually then, in one of the prayers that they'll actually say, and they'll actually say to the person in the house, they would actually tell them to wrap like a blue aura, I think, for want of a better expression, like an aura around the house, and that then would protect the house and stop.
That's what the spiritualist would do, or that's what I would ask the spiritualist.
That's what a spiritualist would say to the person. I want you to imagine that there's a blue, like a.
The person who's been haunted, or the person who's
the person who the spirit has attached itself to.
Right. So this young lady, who Jeff mentioned, she's the one that would imagine this blue aura around the house.
The blue aura
to then chase the spirit that's attacked.
It wouldn't chase the spirit, but it would prevent the spirit from coming back, because obviously they would ask the spirit to move forward.
Right. So they've chased the spirit out, but then wrap this blue aura around it.
And that would offer the protection to the lady. I'm sorry, I can't remember her name, but the lady who you were talking about, Gemma. So they would actually tell her to do that.
Right.
So if you imagine the ready Brett kid.
Right.
Is the best way I've heard it described. You imagine the ready Brett kid.
Oh yeah,
you would surround.
The glow around
So you've got the glow. You'd surround yourself with the glow.
Right.
There's different colours that mean different things.
Is that something that you have to constantly think of though?
No.
So once you've done it,
once you ask for that to happen, that would in effect
Right. So that would wrap your house, and then that
would be it. Yeah.
So it wouldn't be like oh, I forgot to wrap your house.
You wouldn't have to do it. You wouldn't have to do it every day if you were sort of concerned and you felt as though you needed to do it again. And you could advise the person to do that and say to them, if you're feeling, if you're feeling a little bit upset, a little bit scared or anything like that at all, just put the blue light around the house, put the blue light around yourself. Just imagine yourself encapsulated in the blue light, and then that's how it would work. Right. So.
Oh, right. Well, you know.
There we go.
So that's how obviously the spiritualists would have gotten rid of this. So did that? Gemma, did you know who this young girl was?
No.
Like,
she just knew there was a young presence. She knew it was a young girl.
Right.
And
did you actually see her? Is that how she knew she was a young girl?
She went in the house. She went, but I didn't feel threatened. There was no threat.
Yeah.
But she went out. It was quite unnerving to think that, because Gemma, a young child, and there's somebody else. There's some other presence. Yeah. And when you're not, it's just our nature. If we don't know anything about it, we tend to either fight it, or we go against it. It's a very, very. I think it's just something that's inbuilt with us.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
If we don't understand it, it's wrong.
Yeah.
But she said, I wasn't that bothered. She went, but then it started really. It was like, this shouldn't be here. It's not right.
Yeah.
And it felt as though it was always with us, and so that I had to go back and remove the spirit.
Yeah.
Which I thought was really strange.
Yeah. And once they had been and removed it, that was it. She never experienced anything more after that.
No.
So, right.
But she knew, because like in a pub, I think there's so much goes on.
Yeah.
It's quite easy to see a shadow, to hear a noise,
Yeah.
You could say, oh, well, it could be this and that. Yeah. But in your own home, you think you know more.
Yeah, you sort of like know.
Everything's in its place and stuff like that. So when things move and go missing, then you've got to question it, But she knew. She says, I knew that there was something.
Right.
When I felt it, I could feel.
Yeah.
There was something there all the time.
So at no point of any of these spirits. I mean, you're saying that's a nice one that attaches itself to Gemma. There's none of these spirits that are the nasty. I know Anita was telling us one about the guys who threw the beer across.
Oh, quite often throws the beer off the table.
Right, and that's just because of they being a bit rowdy and whatever.
Quite often, and then you see these guys step back and I'm like,
how did that happen?
And I look at each other and you've done that. I've never touched it.
Right.
The gas, constantly turn the gas off.
Right.
You got to, the gas bottle. If you ever turn a gas bottle on and off, it's quite. You go down, gas is off. Who's turned this off? And think just little things like that. You just think, how on earth has that happened? Things, glasses just. You sit there and they just come off the shelf, just smash. And you're thinking, well, what on earth is that? But
and there's no like sort of vibrations in the ground or anything. There's no like earthworks or anything going around the area that could cause vibrations.
Not a thing. It just literally just happen and you're thinking, my God.
Right.
But it's like kind of activity that we get quite bursts of it. So there's a lot of things go on within months.
Right, and then nothing at all.
Nothing.
Right.
But it's not a threatening.
So nobody's actually been harmed.
No, and there's nobody ever said like this is like touching us and this, that and the other. It is just dead friendly. The only person who complains, like I was saying earlier on.
You'll have to tell the listeners all about that story. About the
Tommy,
little boy.
There's an old guy that comes in, Tommy. I mean, Tommy, he's an East End lad, and he likes a few pints, like.
Yeah.
But never ever put it down to just having.
Yeah.
He'll come in and he'll say, "Where's that lad?" You know, Tommy, what? There's no lad there. He says, "The little get, the little." He keeps looking behind there. I've told him,
right.
And I went, "What have you told him, Tommy?" He says, "What are you looking at?" I said, "Tommy, there's nobody there." And he says, and Tommy got himself all frustrated. I'm telling you, he was standing behind there looking at us. He was peeking behind the wall, and I just thought, why is he peeking behind the wall? I said, "Well, where'd you come from?" He came from your side. I says, "There's nobody there, Tommy." And a couple of times he's seen this. He says, "It's a young lad."
Right.
It's there. He says, and he's a, he's like peeking behind the wall. Now, when he first saw that, it might have been 2 years after, and the paranormal group that came in, I was telling you about, they come in and they were sitting, and they fetched this guy, Noel Sorbier, who's a spiritualist medium or whatever, you know. And he said, there's a young kid running about here, a little cheeky kid.
Right.
And I just thought.
And this story hadn't been
released
to the press?
No, this was just Tommy.
This paranormal group didn't know anything about it?
This is just Tommy having a drink on a Friday night, and he said, "Oh, I've seen him." He says, "The young lad."
Yeah.
And Tommy's adamant. I mean, Tommy's ran businesses. He's
quite an intelligent guy.
Oh, very intelligent.
Yeah.
And he was adamant because I was laughing at him.
Yeah.
Like, I'm bloody telling you, he was there. I'm telling you, he's hiding behind the wall.
Right.
And I was like, "Well, I told him," but he's seen him a couple of times, so it's not just the once.
Yeah.
But then when he said about that, about there's a young lad running about, and I went, well, that just really confirms it for me that there is something of
So
that.
is he the only one that's seen this little boy, or? I mean, I know you're saying this.
Tommy's the only one that's seen this little lad.
Right.
He's sitting down there. He's just ran through there.
And has Tommy suffered a loss or anything like that, or has anybody suffered a loss?
No.
So it's just just for some reason he randomly saw this.
I mean, if he was here, he'd tell you, and he's. I mean, he's quite passionate when he's telling you as well. He'd say, "I'm telling you, it was." No, I says, "Tommy, but I'm telling you, there's nobody.
You can't see.
There's physically nobody there. I haven't got any young lads.
No.
There's no young lads live here.
Yeah.
You know, and it is strange that presence was there. But then I was explaining to them. I says, "Well, we've got a couple of people, well, in fact we've had nearly all of the family work here at some point, but the nana worked here, and young Peter was 10-year-old and he died, he had a heart condition, and I was explaining what he was like. He had a little bit of autism, and he was that type of kid, and he had energy to burn. I mean, he was like, honestly, a little tornado. Unfortunately, his poor life was cut short. And I was explaining, like, could it be that? And he says, it sounds exactly who it is.
And has he seen a picture of this young boy?
No.
He hasn't seen a picture to say, yes, that's who I saw.
No. He says he just comes from one side, he's looking, he's just peeking round the corner, like that. He says, and he said, "The cheeky little bugger." And I said, "Tommy, there's nobody. I've seen him." You know.
And had this young boy been in the pub at all when he was alive?
No. But what I was saying earlier on, I mean, I'm always looking for explanations. Because all his family, I mean, his grandmother, his mother, the whole. I've employed every one of them at some point. So has this? Because the house that they lived in is no longer there. Has this?
He's lost.
Has the entity come? Well,
this is the last place.
This is where they come. They're always in.
Right.
You know.
And do they know that this guy's seen this little boy?
Oh, I told them. I says, explained it, and they were like, "Bloody hell!" But once again, we're not. There's no threat. There's no. Oh, this has happened. That's happened. Everybody's quite at ease, to be fair. quite at ease with the everything. To be fair, there's nobody.
There's nobody come here, felt something, seen something, and not come back.
No.
So there's nobody being scared away from it.
No.
And as the people come, I mean, I know you mentioned the 2 paranormal groups, and us obviously, but has there anybody come solely because of the fact of that it's been haunted? You know,
no.
Some places it becomes a tourist attraction.
Not that we know of, but we have had people who were in it and have just said, "Oh, it's got a nice presence in here.
Right.
It's got a nice feel.
Yeah.
It just feels.
Yeah.
Feels safe. You feel.
Right. Right.
So, you know, and I think, well, that's because I look after it. You know.
Yeah.
It's that other, but that's the kind of thing they get. You know.
Oh yeah.
Because nobody comes in and going.
I feel quite
I feel threatening. There's something.
You're on about that, aren't you?
Yeah, I came in. Well, it was when I met you for the first time a couple of weeks ago, and it was we came in, and I felt really welcome. But this, I mean, I've grown up in this environment. This was like where I lived as a child. This to me feels like home.
Right.
So the pub's got a lovely feel to it. I mean, even when it was full of, you know, I saw all the girls playing bingo and there was the karaoke on and stuff. And it's just got such a nice feel to the pub. Right. It's not like one of those pubs where they tell you stories where you walk in and the pool ball stops and the water stops pouring out the tap. It's got a lovely feel.
Nobody actually took any notice of it.
Yeah, it was kind of like, well, no, there was a couple of people actually said hello to us. Right. So, you know, it was kind of...
Right, so there was a very friendly atmosphere.
For me being a complete stranger, you know, walking into a pub for the first time, you do kind of, oh, right, hiya. Yeah. You know what I mean? But no, it's got a lovely feel to it. I just wanted to point out as well, there is a dog running around, so we have had a few noises up there.
I haven't got headphones on, Dave, so I don't care.
Yeah, there is a dog running around.
Yeah, shall I stick the microphone next to the dog barking?
But no, it's got a lovely feel, and I completely agree with that, because there is some places that you do go into.
By the way, that's a real dog.
Yeah, a real dog, yeah. There is some places that you go into and you have, like, it's like a negative feeling when you walk in, and you kind of, you know, you sort of, you don't want to be there.
Yeah.
Like I said, when I lived in...
Work.
Well, yeah, there's that factor as well. When I'd sort of cut one of the first shows that we did when we were talking about the Schooner, the Schooner Hotel. Now it always makes me laugh on when, you know, Derek Okora and the Most Haunted team went up there, and other sort of investigations have gone up there. They've all done the main body of the hotel. They haven't done the scary bit, which is down the back, like I said to you, on that second level down the back of there. Right. And that's where I saw...
Where you were trying to steal the cheese from.
Yeah, the second bit was making a cheese sandwich, and there was a large... I don't know how tri-cornered hat gentleman walked through the fridge, the fridge door.
Like Charles the
First or something, and he had the hair and everything, and he walked through the door, and of course I saw this bloke walk towards me. I was out there like 100 miles an hour. Now, supposedly the most haunted room in that hotel was my bedroom, room 28. And yeah, I felt some weird stuff in there. It never felt like home. But I'm keeping it clean. But it was kind of, I always sort of didn't feel comfortable in that room there. You know what I mean? But going down the back of that hotel, going down that back corridor, and again, I was talking to my parents about it like last week, and it was the hair on the back of your neck was standing on end, and you were thinking to yourself, every foot you would take, like footstep forward, you were taking, thinking, I don't want to be here, I don't want to be here, I don't want to be here. But it's the exact opposite in this place. It feels as though...
So we've had lots of people who come in, and it's not like, oh, it feels nice in there because you've got the take all.
Yeah.
It's that the conversation is, oh, it's got a nice feel.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, it's. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You know, nice pair of slippers.
Nice combi.
It has it.
Just get, you know. And like I say, we've had none of the sightings, the experiences have been negative, apart from like if you lost a pint off the table. And, but nothing like threatening it, you know.
You see, I've heard, like you say, we were discussing that when earlier on with Anita when I was having a quiet chat with her, and that could be literally somebody, like she was saying that it was, I believe it was something to do with a group of football lads were in and they were being a bit loud.
Yeah.
You know, and it kind of, kind of the pub guardian. You know, I've heard this theory banded around, you know, that every pub's got its pub guardian. There's a guy or a woman who looks after the place, and it's like either a landlord past, you know, or somebody who was in the area. And obviously, if you're misbehaving yourself in the pub and they want you to shut up, I mean, I've sat in the pub myself and looked across at a group of lads that have been a bit like leery or whatever, and you thought, you know, calm yourself down, you know, I wouldn't go over and spill a pint.
No.
That's an extreme.
Yeah, but you only get away with that when you're a spirit because they can't do anything.
Yeah. But you do sort of looking at that. I have heard that happening before.
Right.
And I've heard people discuss it when they've been in pubs and stuff, and they've had, you know.
Well, we're gonna have a look around anyway. We're gonna go around with Christine and that, and that unbelievable EMF, and see what we can find. We've also got Steve here. Steve's gonna.
Steve's had to go home and.
Oh, he's gone to the alright. Well, I've got Steve anymore. I didn't say both. He's had to go.
He crept out before.
Ah, right. So yeah, so we've lost Steve.
Yeah.
Not in a bad way. He's just had to go home. But yeah, we're gonna have a wander around. But yeah, so obviously the little boy and whatever. So yeah, Jeff's just taking the dog back upstairs, so I didn't know what.
Yeah, I think what we're going to do is we'll set up some areas and stuff like that for you know, and just sort of like lock the camera off, and then I think we'll maybe run 2 or 3 at the same time.
Yeah. Right. So have we got any volunteers?
You said that we cross at Christine.
I know with Christine.
Christine's
is that one of volunteers?
I'm sure. I don't know whether M might. That's a definite no.
M might volunteer. We've got Aaron. Aaron might volunteer. Yeah.
Right.
I'm going to leave this with you.
Excellent.
I'm shattered.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much. I hope that clock's wrong.
No, it's not. What? No,
that one, yeah. Yeah, that's what I mean, that one.
The one behind
the one that is 2:30 in the morning.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
I know you could
have I've been talking for a while, but I didn't realise we'd been talking that long. But yeah, so, anything else? And before we go and have a look.
No,
and,
there's probably lots of things that would just pick up on little things and stuff like that, but there's saying.
But none of them have been violent or
just sightings of people sitting and moving and you know, because most people, if they see it, because it's a pub, they're going, oh, somebody's down there, and they'll probably take no. There's probably a lot more that people have seen but don't take any notice because was it somebody sitting down there?
Yeah.
You know, was it?
Yeah.
Is there somebody there?
Yeah.
But when Nita was saying, she knows for a fact it wasn't.
Yeah.
That person wasn't in.
Yeah.
You cannot, you know, who is that? So, but other than that, we most people just ignore it. Just saw if somebody sitting there, who was that?
Yeah.
Check that out. I haven't served that.
I suppose, as Anita said about the lady of the toilet and whatever, if it had been a customer that saw somebody in the toilet and then they came out and they weren't there, they would just presume that that person just walked out the pub.
That's right. So there's probably lots of little things that's, but I mean, Pat's probably worked here as long, and Pat says, oh, I've seen loads which has come out, and which has been in their own. So I've just seen somebody down there. So Pat, there's nobody in.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. And she's going, oh well, they're all right. And everybody has that. Everybody's had that attitude. It's so they don't feel threatened by them at all. Yeah. So is there any particular area which gets it more than others? I mean, I know we've mentioned the toilets and whatever. No, not really. It's just wherever you like the city to be looking at the bar.
I would say here.
Right.
So,
I mean, this area that used to be called Death Corner.
Right.
Right.
Nice.
We never called it that. We didn't really want to call it that for a while. Yeah. Because what we used to have a group of gentlemen. Right. Who were about 9 or 10 of them out Ballybrogan, and they were all, you know, fairly old. Yeah. And all sat there and I used to sit and crack on with them, and there was one guy, he'd been in the Black Watch and stuff like that, and he was telling us about all his war exploits. And
Is it, this wasn't a guy from the Second World War, was it?
Yeah.
Second World War.
Right.
Right, okay then, that's interesting.
And he used to sit and talk, But the really interesting thing to me was he never spoke to his family about it.
Right.
Because he said, oh, you know, and he was cracking, and he was the most cantankerous person ever, and his attitude was sharper than a knife. You know. I mean, I'm not going to say what he used to come out with, but he used, if you asked him a question, why, of course, man, what are you thinking? And he was very like confrontational.
Yeah.
Anyhow, he used to sit, and I used to talk to him. I used to go and pick him up from the house, bring him round. When he was in his 90s. Right. You know, big fella, big fella. Yeah. And I used to bring him round, and we'd sit down there, and I was cracking on, and I got on talking. I says, you know, so, did you ever kill anybody? Why, I killed somebody. What do you think I was there for? You know? And that was his attitude. He'd be straight down your throat, you know. And I'd be like, well, were you shot, Ralph? Oh, aye, yeah. And up with his trouser leg would come, and up with his shirt. I got some shot. I've still got shrapnel, you know. Still got some in. And he's telling us some very disturbing stories, you know, really. Yeah. And then I was very good friends with the family, so I was telling them, when never ever spoke to us about it. Never ever. Yeah. I says, well, that's kind of a trait. Seems to be like the lads who did fight never really spoke about it, or especially to the families. Oh yeah. You know. Yeah. So he was one of the guys. There was another Paddy, you know, gone to sea all his life, and you know, a proper sailor type of thing. But they were all quite a close group, and they pretty much went within a couple of years. Right. You know, dead. They all sat in that corner. They didn't sit anywhere else.
That's why it's called the death corner, because they one by one.
And people say, I'm not sitting there. If you sit there, you didn't last long, you know. I mean.
So that become a bit of a reputation, but obviously you've stopped calling it that, because
I mean, exactly. It was just so happened that they sat there, and they were of a certain age. That's all it was.
Can I just dive in there? Christine, when she was doing the baseline tests, mentioned that, and I've just had a quick chat with her there, that she actually mentioned that she actually has had contact next door with a soldier from World War II. Right. There isn't a name yet. Is there, Christine?
No, not yet.
Not yet.
He did say if I used the dice leader on, he would give us a name, but we'll have to see. Right.
You know what I mean? That's kind of when I sort of brought Christine in there with it, but that's kind of when she was doing the baseline test. So you know what I mean? So kind of.
So what actually happened, Christine? What was the experience?
It was just I was using a crystal on a chain. Right. And you just ask it what the sign is for yes, what the sign is for no. Right. Keep your hands steady. Right. And if it's a yes, it'll swing the crystal itself. Right.
So how did you know that there were World War II soldiers?
Because I did ask the owner if this building had been anything else. Right. If there'd been anything else, and he did see a barracks. Right. So and then you asked the crystal if it was. Or you were a soldier. You know. Right.
So it's like if you imagine playing like a yes/no game when you're using a crystal. Like a yes/no thing.
Yeah, no, but what I meant was, how did you know that he was a soldier? How was
well, it was obviously it's a guided. It was a guided question.
Yeah, exactly.
We're in the barracks.
And that's obviously going back to my problem. Is that the spirit didn't answer that question without it being guided. Yeah. So it was a guided question. So.
So
that's as I've always said, that's that I'll always put
down, absolutely, you know? Absolutely.
And that's why I need the proof. And not that I've called anybody a liar, because I would never do that. But you know, that's obviously the lie I always go down. I'm very, very sceptical of this. You know, and I always find something.
It was just it was strange to say that they always sat there. And that's where they got a lot of good readings. They said, "Oh, this is a strange corner," but I didn't tell them what it was when I went, "Oh, this is," and they went, "This place here."
So it didn't have a reputation for being the death
No, it was it was a group.
Like everybody knew that was the place. That
it was a group of guys who drank in there for a good few years, and just so happened that their ages and stuff all caught up with them. Rafi was 94. Yeah. Paddy was well in his 80s.
Well, I'm not. What's he 52?
You know.
Yeah, the bad paper on.
So when you look at that,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
it's just coincidence that it was their time. But it was really strange that the readings they got from that corner. It was like, whoa, this is
right.
And I was explaining myself, well, that corner.
Yeah. So that they didn't know about them guys.
No.
The
because they were just customers. It's not like if you get. I'm very sceptical if somebody comes to me and says, "Oh, well, I've got such and such and such." I go, "Well, you've probably done a little bit wrong. But have you been on Facebook? Have you done this? Have you spoken to somebody who's relative to me?" So you know, there's.
I do that with Dave all the time.
I'm pretty much like yourself. I look down that route and say, "Well, where could you have found that information?" Yeah. But when it's just customers, you would never know because they're just people. Yeah. You know, could be anybody, but when they anybody, and if they're like non-specific, and you can just say, oh well, it's a good guess. Yeah. But when there's come out with a specific tag, well, you would never have known that.
It is quite difficult to explain that.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like you say, the experience I've had, I'm as much as the experience I've had, seen, heard, etc., and smelt. Yeah. I'm still very sceptical. Yeah. That I need that like definitive.
Yeah. Well, I'm exactly the same. I need the definitive proof.
But like I say,
but I haven't experienced anything like what you're saying. Yeah. You know, I mean, like when I went across there, I didn't feel any fluctuation in heat, in the temperature or anything.
I'll tell you what it is. I've just put my hand behind the back there. I can feel the radiator now behind here. Yeah. So there is definitely a radiator here, but there is actually.
Is it still there? Is it? Can you still feel it? Or?
No, not at the moment. No.
Right.
Yeah.
Left orders.
Cold time at the bar.
Yeah. Well, I think we're done, aren't we? Because we're going to do the little bit walk around now. Yeah. So thank you very much for your time, Jeff, and we shall definitely have a look and see what we can find. Yeah. Within the hopefully there's something. Right.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
That's it. Clear.
Right. Clear.